Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me. My name is Robin Ayoub. I'm the founder of Localization Fireside Chat, and thanks for joining me on this Friday morning, March 24th, 2023. I am happy and have the pleasure to have my friend Charles Lesperance with me here for this episode of Localization Discussion. And Charles and I go way back. We work together on the AILIA, that's the Canadian Language Industry Association. We've had so many, thought-provoking conversations in the past, and I thought, what best way to end the week this week other than having a coffee with my good friend, Charles Lesperance. Again, this is a casual conversation in this day and age where we wish to be closer to each other and talking to each other over a regular cafe somewhere in Montreal, hopefully. And we can't do that. So I decided to create something that gives us the opportunity to chat casually about our industry, but using technology such as connecting with each other via camera. So welcome to the show, Charles.
Thank you, Robin.
For those who don't know you, if you don't mind, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself personally, your business, where you're located, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. And I think it's a great initiative to start this podcast to reflect the reality of the industry here in Canada and abroad as well. So thank you for this great initiative. So yeah, proud father of two young kids. I started in the industry 10 years ago, founding OXO Innovation. And before that, I studied law. I worked in the law industry for 2-3 years in a Big Four accounting firm doing taxation. And basically, I joined a friend that had already a small boutique translation company. And I say, why not growing this company? And I was amazed by the size of the industry at first. I did some research, even though I was not a trained translator or project manager. So in Quebec, in Canada, you cannot escape the need of translating, right? So at first, the idea was to bring the Canadian company global. That was our first thought, to help the Cirque du Soleil, Bombardier, CGI of this world to sell their products and services abroad. But quickly, the demand for English to French translations grew a lot, and I understood that this was probably the biggest market to address. That was in 2013. We grew, we had the high growth at the beginning. It's easier when you're small to grow a lot. And we did some acquisitions along the way. So we merged with a company in Brazil, Ccaps, in 2018. So we still have pretty big presence in South America with around 25 employees there. And I'm very proud to say that we kept all or most of our employees there. And most recently, in 2019, we bought Communications Transcript, which was a leader in the Quebec market, very strong presence amongst regulated industries, such as banking and insurance and organizations like that. So I'm currently the CEO of Transcript and OXO. And my job is to grow the companies, make sure that it's happy, help with recruitment, and bring these two companies together to form a stronger business and to be able to grow the business here and internationally as well. This is always our goal as well, is to be the #1 Canadian company in Canada with a global presence. So that's the twist that I want to bring the OXO group forward.
That's a great vision. You and I have talked about this before, and I always wondered, Canada is in such a great place from a localization perspective, having both official languages in the country. It's demographically, it's a melting pot in terms of the number of languages spoken in this country. I don't know if you recall, but there was an RFP from the city of Toronto a few years back. And I think it included something over 100 languages in it for support. That gives you the indication as to how many languages are spoken in the country. So the environment is really conducive for a Canadian company to make it on the global stage in terms of size, etc. So I don't know if you remember the Moravia RWS, the Moravia, from the Eastern European countries, and grew such a large organization, such a successful organization, ended up merging with SDL. I mean, there must be a way to take one of these Canadian companies, and I say that because I'm the president of the Canadian Language Industry Association. That's my passion, is to see one of those companies, blast out of orbit, I say, and move away from the traditional Canadian industry, not necessarily forget about it, but just take what you've learned in the Canadian market and propel that to the next markets, if you will, globally?
We have very solid organizations here, but I feel that we're so comfortable with the high demand to address here in Canada and Quebec, English to French, that we become happy and it's comfortable to say, okay, we know what we're doing, English to French, French to English, we're good at it. Why bother doing Spanish and German and so on and compete with global organizations? That's the difference too. But it would be great to have, I don't know, it would probably come with mergers and other acquisitions, but one Canadian player that can have a global presence and leverage really the work that is here and bet still heavily on the work that is done in Canada, but try to compete with Moravia and the top 10 companies in the world on global accounts. I think this is where no one, I think, really made it yet.
And if you think, Charles, of the global market, right? So I know CSA Research put a study out. I think they mentioned something like 18,000 companies in the localization industry worldwide. But if you sort through the list, I mean, it is predominantly, at the top 80-20 rule always in every industry, right? So 80% of the volume for the industry is controlled by the top 20 customers, 20 companies. And the rest of the companies that below that, they are smaller, et cetera. So from a market perspective, there must be like some sort of a window of opportunity here for somebody who is in the small to medium size to grow and become a large organization. The market must be craving for that. I mean, if you were to be a top company, I'm thinking on the customer side, and you're a big buyer of localization, who do you deal with? I mean, you already have the top 5 or the top 10 that you're always dealing with. But wouldn't it be refreshing to see, a young newcomer on the global stage, making an impact in that regard? And I think the opportunity is there.
Yes, for sure. Our space, because we're used to deliver high quality in terms of translations. The terms quality, I know, is always up to debate. What is quality and so on? But because of the requirements here for the French translations, we're used to deliver that. And I think this is what we should export. It's like Cirque du Soleil. They export the best acrobatic shows on the planet. This is their image and so on. This is what they sell. We should be selling high quality for global organizations, such as global banks, for example, big law firms, things like that. Organizations like that. I think this is where we could leverage our expertise of very high standards. And I'm not sure we're geared to do billions of words in 10 languages with low quality and high technology. I'm not sure anyone in the current market in Canada are geared for that, but where we can really compete is regulated markets, high quality, and delivery at scale with the standards that we have here. And this is how we should brand ourselves as an industry, is we are the best. If you go, it's like the Swiss chocolate. I don't know, you know it's gonna be good. So if you buy translations from Canada, it's gonna and you want the best, and you're ready to pay you will be satisfied as a customer.
My friend Charles making me crave chocolate now. I want chocolate.
I'm sorry, Robin. It's almost Easter, by the way.
I know. I'm trying to buy some Easter eggs here. So you bring up a very good point. And for those audience who don't know, who are not familiar, Cirque du Soleil is a Quebec-based company, and and it is a successful company who started in Quebec doing something excellent, and they took that excellence and they exported it. So you're right. You bring up a very good point. The fact that you go global, it doesn't mean that you need to lose your identity that you started with. That identity that you started with made you successful, and you maintain that identity will give you a much broader audience on the global stage, but you don't have to change who you are as an organization, the product you deliver or the service that you deliver, etc. So this is very, very good idea because go ahead.
On this French Canadian, I think we are born a bit shy of breaking barriers internationally and be proud of the success. And this is something I think is historical and it's in our background. So we need to break this down and be proud of, okay, let's go global, let's be the number one. Because if you don't dream about being number one, no one's going to do it, really. So
I tell you though, you bring a very good point. I mean, I don't call it shyness. I think, I've been, as you know, I've been selling in Canada in a variety of industries for many years and selling abroad for Canadian industries in many years. I call it being humble. We're not, robotish, we're not chauvinistics. We don't yell it from the top of our lungs. Maybe we should. We're very humble in the way we approach sales and marketing. I'm speaking in general in Canada, right? So it is not something that we, raise the flag or anything like this. We tend to be a little bit humble in terms of how we talk about our services and our products, which sometimes be mistaken for being shy about it, which is not. I don't believe it's the case. We're not shy. I mean, we go into a meeting, we go into discussions, we express our views respectfully, but we don't, the audience, the idea here is that if you want to go on the global, and you've seen it like with Nortel, BlackBerry, and various other companies that, they went on the global stage and somewhat, specifically in the case of the old Nortel, for those of you who remember Nortel, I'm dating myself now, what happened there. You go on the global stage, and if you don't have the right chemistry or the right makeup of what you're trying to sell on the global stage, you somehow get defeated and come back to the Canadian market and you say, okay, well, we're good at this. We know how to do this, and let's focus on this one. But the boat has sailed, and at that point, and there's nothing left. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen to Canadian language industry. No, because the services in languages, and that's you and I talked about this one, languages will always be needed, and we'll talk into technology. Second, languages will also always be needed. Different than technology. Technology comes in phases. So you've got a hot technology now, may not be hot tomorrow. So you got to capitalize on what you have now. But since the Babylon day, 10,000 years ago, languages are needed. Languages will always be with us in terms of somebody needs to facilitate it. Globally, there's hundreds of languages spoken. No single human can claim I speak more than 7, maybe 10, at 12. That's a wizard. But nobody's going to be able to speak hundreds of these languages at the same time. Yes. So they need a facilitator. And that need will always be there. Either we do it via technology, we do it via human, but there always there is a need there to be facilitating those conversations, which brings me to the next topic, which is technology. So how do you use technology in your world now? And where do you see technology either helping or not so much in our industry?
Big debate. We have chosen to bring off-the-shelf solutions and build on it to make it reflect more our clients' needs and terminology and so on. So we use it at TMS, and it's the base of, we use Plunet, is the base of our business intelligence. If you want, is where we manage projects, we look at the margins, which industries send us more work and so on. And we're connected through CAT tools, like pretty much everybody else.
Yeah.
And then we train machine translation based on our clients. This is more or less the portrait of our organization. Pretty similar to, I would say, the top 20% of the industry. We invested a bit more than, let's say, small boutique shops, but anyone could have this, package if you want. So technology will change in every step. So project management will become more automated. Why it's not automated right now is because there is a lot of intelligence involved on assigning jobs yet. This document, for this client, this document should go to this person or should go to this person for translation. We didn't find a way yet to automatize for one client the workflow depending on which documents, because you don't know until you open the document actually what it talks about. So this is a bit where I'm sure that AI like ChatGPT could get this intelligence on the nature of the document and the wording in it to see which best resources translators should work on it. We're not there yet at OXO whatsoever. On the machine translation side, yes, technology, you're reading these DeepL or Google Translate or ChatGPT, the language is really good. It's not there always reflecting what the source document is actually saying. So it's much more natural than, let's say, 5 years before, but there is still sometimes a gap in the meaning of the words. which is problematic because if it's, let's say it's very good 1 times out of 2.
Yep.
In the industries that we're working in, you can, the client's gonna take the risk that will be good 1 times out of 2. It needs to be good 99.9% of the time or 100% of the time. So this is where there's the trust. People trust us with their documents to be always accurate. And the humans are so important in that trust because humans understand for now. So this is where I feel that we will use technology more to go, yes, faster, to produce better quality, especially faster. This is where the clients want. They want the ready to publish much faster than before. Websites need to be almost real time updated. So this is where we will use technology. It's gonna the overall quality of service, but the trust that humans put on humans is more important than ever.
Yeah, and you know, you bring a very good point because for you and me, and you know, this is going back to, you know, starting a company in Canada and moving global because it gives you that foundation. Why? Is because in Canada, when you give somebody a translated document, they're able to discern, they're able to understand if this is good or bad, because most likely they speak two languages. And for the other languages, and I don't want to name any, and for the most consumers of language translations, normally when they're handed over a document in another languages, they don't understand what's in it. So let's say, let's take it from me, right? I don't speak Korean. I don't understand Korean. If somebody hands me a document in Korean, says this is coming from a machine translation, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say, yeah, it looks Korean, so it must be good. And I don't have a means to judge it on my own person, right? So I can't read and say that doesn't make any sense. But if you give me a document in in French or in Arabic or in English, I can tell you this is good, bad, or ugly. So, when you come from that environment where you're constantly being judged on this, and it doesn't matter if you use technology as a human, etc., then you develop processes, you develop ways to deal with that, and you take it global. This is very, very fundamental. And and this is another topic too, where customers are saying, and especially big customers are saying, you know, we have a lot of content, we've got a lot of things that we need to translate. And if I want to put this into a process where I'm only using human, A, it's going to cost me more, and B, I'm not going to produce it in time. So therefore, they're looking for ways to resolve that. And I don't know if you've seen the last one. I think the gentleman's name, known by on YouTube, he's a big YouTube personality. He's known as the Beast, I think his name.
Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast or something on YouTube. He got tired. Apparently he got tired of paying for translation. He started his own dubbing company and using AI, artificial intelligence. You got to, because technology is becoming more available now, and you can do a lot more. You know, you mentioned earlier about project management and using AI for that. Because technology is allowing us to do more with now, because any one of us, you and I, can go in. It's open source. You can develop your own application. You can write your own thing, and it's not that hard, really. And so you got to see a lot more of these kind of scenarios. 1A, for us, we need to use technology. We need to harness the power of technology, but our customers are going to be doing the same thing. The customer of the industry is going to be doing the same thing. It goes back into the tolerance of quality, as you mentioned earlier. How willing are you to, as a customer, as a consumer of content, to tolerate, and what level of tolerance you have for the quality? And this is where we come in now. We're going to talk about the grading of quality. So, and you know, what is the maximum quality, middle of the road quality, and low quality, and how do you judge that? Have you done this before? Like, have you done any grading for qualities?
Typically, our clients they expecting they want let's say AAA grade, but we're saying this. Yes, the fit for purpose is a discussion in Canada that probably started 5-10 years ago elsewhere. Because of the new bill 96, I think it's opened the door to not every document is made the same. We need to be able to discriminate a bit. Documents with high visibility, high impact on either employees, customers, stakeholders, documents that will be good enough. I feel the conversation is starting, start to start. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, and it's true in a way that if it's the press release of a president of a major bank and it goes in the media, it's not the same as if it's an email for internal team of 10 people and it needs to be in French or in Spanish because you have a small team somewhere, and if there's a typo, it's not the end of the world. So it's not true that it's the same. What we need to do is to adapt our practices and our workflows to make sure that we can do that. And it's not that easy. If you ask a translator to do a so-so job, I mean, this is not, I mean, it's like asking your lawyer to make a so-so job. Like, he's going to tell you, well, sorry, you can go elsewhere I'm a professional. I want to do a good job. What we can do is adapt our workflows so that everybody is, everybody's agree on what's the quality needed, and that a translator that is a professional will be still proud of his work or her work. So this is where we still need to think about our workflows and be ready to help this company to scale, because with the new Bill 96, the volume are exploding, and I'm not sure there's enough translators in Canada to meet these demands. So we'll need, as an industry, to think this collectively. And it's a bit taboo, I think, but there is no choice, unfortunately, in the future that we will need to do that. And it started elsewhere. I mean, if you go to Airbnb, it's not true that every comment is translated and revised by a human, because it doesn't make sense. It's just too much work to be done if you read a comment on Amazon or Airbnb, it doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, you understand the person was happy about his stay in Paris.
Two things, the emotion attached to it is, are they happy? Are they neutral? Are they mad?
Is it a good location? So on. So I understand. And the clients want it for yesterday anyways, because as you know, we are the end of the cycle of the content production. So we need to adapt. And this is something that the industry needs to talk more about, how to do this.
And the other thing that we keep, we don't talk about it often, and I think it's relevant, is most content today has an expiry date on it, shelf life. So you don't do a document to stay forever anymore. Maybe there are very small percentage of those documents where you absolutely sure it stays forever. But most content, if you want to do the 80-20 rule again, 80% of the content have a very short life. You post something on social media, you put it in any other media. This is, when you put something on Facebook, 2 weeks later, nobody's looking at it. When you put something on Twitter, maybe 1 week it lives there, and they're at the bottom of the stream. Nobody's even watching that anymore. What do you guys, do you agree, or?
Yes, I agree. Short life, but high visibility. So this is
at the beginning, though.
At the beginning, but every mistake is exponentially more damageable than before. Because social media, if you go, I don't know, on a telecom or a bank, there's millions of views. So currently the market, because of the high visibility of a lot of the content, especially online, the trade-off is like, we're gonna pay the regular rates, even though it has a shorter lifespan, but because it's high visibility, there is zero mistake whatsoever that could be, possible. Or so this is the double. It's kind of, I don't know if it's a paradox or something, but things are changing and we need to adapt. This is what I tell my team yesterday is we need to be more flexible. We need to adapt and be an organization that is geared to meet the 5-10 years, the challenges that is going to come. So,
and you bring a very good point. We're always going to be, and I feel like, and I've written a blog on this one for those of you who doesn't know where my blog is. It's robinayoub.blog. I guess that's my site. If you want to check it out. And I talk about the hybrid environment, and the hybrid environment meaning that human and machine, they were always going to need to be coexisting. Now, the balance in our business, in the localization industry is the trick is to create the balance, and the balance between how much human you're going to use and how much machine you're going to use in order for you to produce the intended outcome. And the intended outcome, which I go back to a little bit in a second here, the intended outcome is judged by two people, the customer and the translator. Sometimes the translator wants that perfectionist environment, that perfection, that I produced a good quality translation and everybody is proud of their work. And everybody wants to sign off on something that is good, which rightly so, and you don't want it any other way. And sometimes the customer is saying that's good enough. So we have that tug of war almost between a perfectionist mentality on our staff and the customer who is saying, I'm happy with it. And I'm not sure if you've seen that in your environment, but that's always been the
That's
case.
why I think the only way to address that is the workflow, so that everybody is happy. The translators do the best that he can in the workflow that meets the client's needs. And it's for us as business people to create a workflow that meets the expectations of everyone. But it's a fine line, and it's a fine line. And this is a topic that I think we should discuss more in the industry and put things on the table, because our clients want the same thing. If everybody's is taboo and maintain that a bit taboo, we won't progress, and then someone is gonna come and meet more the client's needs, and we need.
I'm reminded of several industries, right? I don't know, pick one. It doesn't matter which one. There are two types of in the same industry. You'll find there are two types. One is a fully automated part of the industry, and one that is more of an artisan, if you will, a boutique of how we address a specific industry. It doesn't matter if you're a baker, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. You always find that. You always find high volume, producing too much, sometimes output. And then you've got those companies where it's saying, okay, no, I'm going to do it the old traditional fashioned way. I'm going to produce it in a very specific way that I've learned in school, that I've learned in university. And nobody's going to change my mind. And I don't care if technology is going to get to a point where they're going to read my mind and translate for me. No, I'm just going to do it the way I've learned to do it in college. So, and you've got customers for both, though. You've got customers who wants that, fine touch, artisan, etc. And you've got customers who want just I've got too much of it. I mean, you've got a customer coming at you with 5 million words. They want it a very short time, and then you're going to say, well, how am I going to produce that? How many people I'm going to have to put on it?
Exactly. The future is to be able to do both. I think having the best linguist,
the hybrid environment,
because if we talk about post-edition, or you need to have solid linguists to be able to do that. So because the tricks that the machines are missing, or you need to have the eye for that. And it's not, we need to train our people to be able to do it, but experienced people are the one that will do it easier, I think. So the future, the organization of the best one that will succeed will be the one that can do both, adjust. Correct. It's like sports car. You can go fast, you can go slow. And this is...
I always give the analogy, right? So when you're in the service industry, adjusting is not as bad as you were, let's say, in an automotive industry, right? So if you were, let's say, a car manufacturer, and tomorrow you're going to produce a new model, guess what? Every factory in the world needs to shut down for a few weeks to retool, to recalibrate, to put new parts on the assembly line to produce a new car. In our industry, because, and it's very unique to our industry, because no single customer is like the second customer. So every customer is different. And within the customer, there is groups of customer users that they're using your services, I'm sure, that they have a specific needs different than others within the same customer.
Yes.
Marketing, HR, legal, etc. All these customer groups have different needs. So the customization of our work in our industry is inherited by the nature of our industry.
Yes, totally. I agree. It's the ability to go different speed that is important. And that's our work. That's why we do a lot of HR every day, is to be able to build a team that is like a sports team. People at different places to meet the client's requirements. This is why you want diverse talents. You want people with different qualities as well, because it's not, the customers don't want always the same thing. You need to be able to adjust. And the big clients, they have, as you said, different departments. So if you want these contracts, you need to be able to produce a bit of everything. So yes.
Yeah. Hey, switching topic on you. Have you played around with ChatGPT? What do you think?
I played a bit with it. It's surprisingly good in terms of language. This is the big breakthrough, and what people are amazed at is the fluidity of the language is unparalleled, and it will continue to evolve. I must say that in the language industry, we are playing with AI for quite some time. So comparing different industries, let's say copywriting or coding or jobs like that, ChatGPT is probably a bigger news because this is completely new. Or from what I understand of it, it's completely new. For the language industry, we have these tools that we train, that has been trained LLM for a long time, right? So we are used to it for the translation part. For the rest of the business, I think it can bring a lot, maybe sales, maybe marketing. We can use it more, development, because you want different APIs. Maybe ChatGPT will be able to create custom-made APIs for our businesses that will be super helpful and be able to connect in different clients' platforms that currently are not possible. I don't know. The other thing that it could bring, on the positive note, is even more content to translate. Because we translate content that the clients produce. If they produce more content,
that's right,
to ChatGPT,
that's right.
I mean, it's more content to translate as well.
If they don't want to translate it in ChatGPT, that is.
Exactly. But let's say that you create content in ChatGPT and then you blog posts, marketing, websites, other microsites, HR documents, your tax declaration, and you need to translate it. I mean, chances are that you will revise the English first or the source language first. And then, so the workflow will be the same for the translation. We will revise the translation if it's important for the client. So I think for the foreseeable future, it's probably a good news in terms of volume, in terms of automation, but who knows where it's going to bring us as an industry. And again, I want my group to be ready for these news and these challenges.
Absolutely.
And this is the direction we took for the next 4 years. We did a plan that our name is OXO Innovation. At Transcript as well, innovation is one of our core values. Let's bet on this more because things are changing faster. We need to be able to adapt. And yes, so for now, I'm excited. I let's see how the language industry will adopt the tool.
Absolutely.
But AI as general, we are using it for some time.
With ChatGPT,
what's yours?
I was playing around with it, and my background is programming. I used to back in the days, and I still have that nostalgia. Once in a while, I just open a console somewhere, just write some codes just for the hell of it. So I was playing around, and I said, okay, I want to create a Python code that does API, and I'm sorry, I'm getting technical on people here. I want to write a general API code that does, general code in Python that takes an API into consideration, extract data and parse data into another system, into another database. So, and I just gave the, few sentences of the description and I got the code, and it was amazing that all I have to do is change a few variables and I have a working code. I was floored with it. I personally was floored with it. Now, I'm not a Python expert, so people don't come to me asking me to write code. I'm not. I know enough to be extremely dangerous, but I understand how logic and programming works, and it does do what you told it to do. So that's, again, you mentioned earlier, it's not just a threat. I mean, what is a threat? And every time we hear about technology, we think it's a threat, but it isn't. It's a tool to help us in a variety of industries, program, content writing, copywriting, and a variety of things like
yes.
Sales and marketing has got to be a huge advantage if people know how to use ChatGPT. From a sales and marketing, it's going to be the absolutely great tool to help you in gaining advantage, to be honest with you.
Totally. I agree with you on the technology side. Since I started in 2013, all the time, like people are asking me, oh, what about Google Translate? And then DeepL, how are you going to have some job? And I'm proud to say we didn't decrease our rates once in 10 years I'm in the industry. And the volume are just increasing every year. So I don't know, either we, as an industry, we gain shares of the market, but I read somewhere that already 99% of the content is machine translated. So as an industry of 50 billion or 60 billion, we already have only the 1%. So imagine if we can adjust to have 3% of the overall content market that is translated by machine translation, because we involve in it, because we make it better. So no, there is opportunities out there. We just need to stay flexible.
That's a very interesting statistic you state, and it's not because of customers want to use machine translation. It's just because A, they feel free to do whatever they want to do, but B is because just think about it on the Canadian level, right? So, I mean, the academic area in our country, the universities who are producing translators, and how many are they producing per year? I mean, they're not even producing 5% of what the industry needs to use in terms of workforce to enable to address the demand. Not even producing 5%. So how do you fill the 95% of the gap? Is because you got to get innovative, right?
Exactly. But we have other challenges. And the challenges is training, is employee retention, is explaining to the clients this difference in quality, what they need. So these are the challenges and labor shortage here in Canada and elsewhere as well. So these are all challenges that we need to address to be able to build on solid foundations.
Sure. And the economic conditions too, the economic condition in not just Canada, around the world, it's nothing to be smiling about, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter where you look. Inflation is up, interest rate is up, prices are up on everything, commodities, etc. So it's impacting our business. Our customers are asking, and that's what I really enjoy, in terms of having a laugh at, is because you've got all these economic conditions that don't look good. Then you've got a few customers coming to you and say, hey, procurement manager asked me to ask all of our suppliers to reduce our price by X%, right? And you've had those conversations, and it sort of goes against everything else that's going in the market in a labor-intensive industry such as ours. It's not like we're pressing a button, we're producing these things. You've got teams, you've got labor, you've got many overhead that you need to pay for, which is completely attached to the economic conditions of where you are.
Totally. That's what we try to do every day. That's what we do. A lot of HR.
I've got a lot of customers. I've got a lot of partners asking me, like a lot of a lot of our members in the industry and colleagues in the industry. They come and they ask me, like, hey, we need to increase our prices. This is another conversation. I think we should table that for another episode. Is how do we increase prices? And we should have that conversation.
We increased last year, I would say, at least half of our top 10 clients' prices. And it's not because we were low before, is inflation. And if you explain to them that your payroll increased an average of 4, 5, 6%, I mean, if you want to keep investing in technology and keeping your resources, you need to increase the prices, not by 10% probably per year, but everything is more expensive. So either we're able to explain why the quality of the service we provide deserve a better rate, or if we cannot explain it, well, yes, and the clients want to put some suppliers in competition, the risk will decrease. But that's why, like, the small things that you do for your clients are important, because this is where they pay the premium prices and be able to generate good profits to be solid and robust. Yes.
Yeah.
And as an industry, we need to not to talk, but we need to keep the standards high, I think, or for the majority of the documents, so that the price don't decrease. Yeah. If there is a couple players cutting 50% the rates, what can you do? But then the clients might notice a decrease in quality and service, and because there is no how can I say, we all play with mostly the same tools as an industry. We use the same CAT tools. Some of the AI is tweaked, but more or less the prices there is the same. So how is it possible?
Environment too, the same economic environment. I mean, if you are competing with individual or companies that are based in your local economy, they have the same economic parameters that you're dealing with. Yeah.
But price, since I started 10 years ago, it's less of a discussion than before, I find. People want fast turnarounds. This is where and versatility in your service offering.
In fact, CSA did a study on this one, and you're right, price was not number one.
Price is not number one. We barely lost customers on prices. It's not a big discussion. It's how can you help me to be compliant with the new laws and have my products ready to market fast. This is what I want. And quality as well. Like, they don't want any reputations problems. So, but hey, is it going to be the same next year with recession, or this I don't know. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you too long. We're coming up on the time here. Any final thoughts from your side?
Let's keep the channels open as an industry. I think this is where we have some immense potential. Let's get together and try to build the next CGI of the translation and rock it and bring our amazing mentality together. And I truly believe together we are stronger. And if anyone watching wants to reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn and ping me, and I'll be more than happy to grab a coffee with any one of you. And thank you, Robin. It was really a pleasure, and it's really a pleasure to be working with you. And you're my president on the.
Oh my God.
I should have said, "Hey, Mr. President," the whole conversation.
No, I consider you a friend, a colleague, and a great person to know and to work with. I really appreciate your time this morning. And I look forward to seeing you in Montreal on in our conference, May 24th, 25th, and 26th. For those of you who are not planning to go to Montreal, I think you should start planning to go to Montreal. We're having CLIA, Canadian Language Industry Association, is having their annual conference, and the AGM is taking place in Montreal the last weekend of the month. So
it will be memorable. So make sure that you book.
We have an excellent program. This is after the long hiatus of COVID. We're going back to face in hybrid mode, obviously, but we are looking to an exciting program. Everybody's going to enjoy this one.
Thank you, Robin. Have a good Friday.
Thank you so much, everybody, and look forward to talking to you further. Thanks.